Hi guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. I'm so glad you could make it today. And in today's video, I'm going to bring you another video that I'll be doing tutorial and a full tutorial and a project breakdown, combination of both, and I'll explain myself. So in this intro, is going to be a little bit longer than the usual, but just bear with me because I actually want to pass across some interesting information to you guys. So I want you guys to know that I'm a motion designer. I'm not a full-time content creator, but I actually have passion to train and teach people what I'm doing, and that's why I actually have this YouTube channel. So it's very hard for me to sit down and then do full tutorial on my project because my project sometimes can be a little bit complex and a little bit long. That being said, what I've decided is to take one particular scene from every project break that I'm doing. I'm going to do a whole scene. I'm going to do a full tutorial on it, and then the rest will be project breakdown. So that's what I did in this video. I picked the first scene, do full tutorial. No, I showed you I literally created the entire scene. So you guys are going to learn a lot from this. Learn on how I get to do my typography, text animation, my background. You guys are going to learn a whole lot of this from this, and I promise you guys will definitely do. So so just bear with me, and that's what I'll be doing for now, because until I have the time when I can actually do full tutorial, then yes, I'll definitely do it. But for now, I'll just pick a scene and then do full tutorial. But I know that you guys still want some form of full tutorial. So this is what I can do to promise. For every project breakdown that I'm doing, I'm also going to be doing a live session. So for this particular project, Appgen project that I did, I think 31st of January, I'm going to be doing a live stream where I will invite everyone to come, ask your question. I'll open up the project. If you have anything you want me to talk about or to explain or to show you, I'll be happy to do that on live stream. And the live stream is not going to be more than 1 hour, right? So make sure you do attend on time. I'm going to do corresponding graphics to it. I'm going to make a normal post. And I'm also going to be, I encourage everyone to actually, get into my Discord, right? There I'll be passing out all the information that you need. So that's the gist for now. And let us get back to what we are doing, and at the end of the video you guys will hear from me. But of course, before we go into that, if you are new to my channel, make sure you do subscribe. Check out the project files in the link in the description. If you do get it, you'll be supporting me, and I really appreciate that. And then be on the lookout for the live stream, right? And then I'll see you at the end of the video. But before we go, this is the potential, most likely the video I'll be doing next. So let me just show you a sneak peek of it, or let me just show you the entire video so you guys will know the next video I'm going to be working on.
Running an online store means anything can happen at any time. You have 47 apps monitoring your store, but when something breaks, you're the last to know. Every app is screaming for attention, critical issues buried in noise. Meet Aura, your e-commerce AI agent, the intelligent alert system built for modern merchants. It monitors everything that matters: sudden sales drops, inventory issues, checkout errors, suspicious refund patterns, traffic anomalies, and sends alerts instantly on Slack, email, or your Shopify dashboard only when it truly matters. With smart trend tracking and strict accuracy checks, false alarms disappear. Your built-in AI chatbot explains exactly why an alert was triggered, digging into patterns, context, and potential root causes with clear, actionable steps to fix it. So you can stay focused on growth, not guessing games. Real anomalies, real context, real action items, pure signal, zero noise. Smarter alerts, faster decisions, complete control. Aura. Act before impact.
All right, so that's the video I'll be working on next. So make sure you do subscribe and stay tuned for that. And then let's go. So I'm going to start with a new composition, of course. And I always use 30 frames per second. And each scene projected to have about 10 seconds. The background doesn't matter, so I'll click OK. So I'll name this scene 1, right? And I'll just make the background white for now. Click OK. The very first thing was the first thing when we have an app idea, and that's what I'll be showing you guys. So let me import the video. So this is the video. So we're going to start with this first frame, and that is what we're going to do. If you guys notice the background, can you see that there's a little bit of grid and some block thing like randomly showing in those boxes? And that's the first thing I want us to create now. So let me just hide this. So I'm going to start by creating a solid. I'll make it, let's say BG, which is background. I'll click OK. And of course, I will use my fill color because I want to make sure I'm using the brown color. Right. I'm just going to use the color that I have here. And the next thing is for me to create the grid. So I'm just going to create another solid. Make this a little bit dark, something like this, and I'll name this grid, and I'll click OK. Now here I have to stack some effects on top of it. So the very thing I would like to add is grid. So I'll add grid, and I'm just going to adjust the settings. First of all, I'd like to change the color to the color that I used in the video, and of course change the border to 2, right, to make it thinner, and change this to width and height sliders. Now you can see it's smaller. Then of course I will change the width to 96, change the height to 90, and then we have this grid here, right? Almost like a perfect grid. So that is the settings that I use for this. Then the next thing I did was to decrease the opacity. But before I decrease the opacity, let me create the boxes here, little box that are actually showing within the box. So that's what we're going to create now. So I'm going to duplicate this. I'm going to name this FN, which is fractal noise. I'm going to go to effects, and I'm just going to delete the grid effect. And here I'm going to start by adding fractal noise, and this is what I have. I'm going to change this to spline, and I'm going to open the transform, and of course the contrast, I'll definitely change that to about 243 just to increase the contrast a little bit. And of course I'll reduce this to about, let's say, -123, so you can see that you can barely see anything, and that's where I'll bring in the transform. Definitely going to reduce this to about, let's say 30 or 31, and then you can see that this is still quite, we have a little bit of just white detailing here. So this is what we have. So one thing I can also do is I can also adjust this just to see where it's more favorable for me to use. So I think I did something about, let's say 976, and this was 578. Yeah, so this is what I have. You can see all these tiny dots, and you guys will get to see that a little bit. Then of course I reduce the complexity as well. I reduce the complexity to 1, and then I can see more details. You guys can see that. The next thing, now I added another effect called the mosaic. I do this mosaic effect, and then with this will just change to set of blocks. So it's very hard to see right now, but you guys will get to see those details pretty soon. So let me increase this to about 20, also increase to about 12. You guys can see some details here. So if I move this to the side, can you guys see? We can see a little bit of some blocks thing there. So let me just undo that for now, so you guys can see that saltiness. Now what I really want to do is I want to take away the blacks so I can have all these tiny details here. So I'm going to add the extract effect, and then with this I'll just increase the black value to about, let's say 6. So as you can see, this is without the extract, this is with the extract. So can you see that you can now have that box? So even if I come to the evolution of the fractal noise, if I do this, can you see that you can have some box thing appearing, right? So the exact same way I did it, that's how I was able to fall into this box, right? So that's why I have these specific values in there to make sure that we were able to get that right. Yeah, I think that is it for now. Then what I now did was to reduce the opacity to about, let's say 4. It's very subtle. Then I would also reduce the opacity of the grid to about, let's say 9. this is how I definitely get the background. So one thing I also need to do is, if I go to my fractal noise, I'll go to the evolution. I'll click the evolution and do times 100. With that, you can have this subtle animation thing going. So that's how I was able to achieve the grid background. So right now, I'll take all of these 3 layers that I've made. So I'm going to just pre-compose this. I'll name it my grid and I'll click OK. So and I have my grid all set up here. So the next thing, let's go to the video. If you guys look closely, right, you can see that you can barely see the grid on where the text is, right? That's because I have something that is interfering with the grid so that it can make this text pop up. I believe that's what we're going to do now. So I'm going to create another solid, right? And I'm just going to name this feathered BG, and I'm going to make it this color, and I'm just going to click OK. And basically what I'm going to do is just take my shape tool and then create a mask alongside in the middle, something like this. And then I'll increase the feathering quite a lot. So I'll increase the feathering, let's say to about, let's say 433. Very subtle, but it's definitely there. So one thing I also need to do is to use the right color for this fill, for this particular solid. So I'm going to change this, and then I'm going to make sure I use this color here just to make sure that I have that set right. Maybe the feathering is too much. Let me reduce it a little bit, and maybe I can drag this out some more and then increase the feathering as well, maybe something like that. So let me take a good look. All right, so one other thing is I'll just bring out this background here, copy, and then put it down here. This is just for safety, just in case anything is missing or anything. So I'll just know that I have my background there. That's for the feathering. And then now we can now move to the text. So the text is app idea. So let's type out the text, click out, and then I'll have this have an app idea. So the font that I need to use for this is Inter. So let me just try and adjust this property a little bit so it fits perfectly. So let me just centralize it, and that will work. Not so. Let me just do this. Let me uncheck my snapping. So let me just centralize it. I know that this is what I'm working with. You guys get the idea. So let me just uncheck this and then focus on the text. So this is what I have. Now I have a plugin called Text Explorer. That's what I'm going to use to split this text. So I'm going to bring that out now. So this is the script basically. So I'm going to split it by words and bottom to top, and I'm going to just click apply. And by so doing, it will definitely split all my text in different words. So you don't necessarily have to really use this. You can just simply use text evo. But me, I like to have more control over my animation, so I'm just pretty much used to this. So now what I really need to do is to have my position animation that I did on the text. So one thing I like to do is if I press P, I like to separate the dimension of my layers, because if I want to do a little bit of overshoot and anticipation, that's basically what I'll do. So now I'm going to start with the half, right? Let's just focus on one, and then basically what I'll do. So I'll go forward 6 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and I'll set my position animation on the Y. Then I'll also go 1, 2, 3, 4. This is where I want it to land and overshoot. And of course, I will now drag this down a little bit, maybe about, let's say 83. So now if I just split, this is what I have. So but then I'll change this to a value so that the value that it will overshoot, let's say -12. So if I play this now, you can see that it has to go up and come down. So now I'll have to easy ease, so zoom in a little bit so you guys can see, and then go to my graph editor. And this time around, I'm going to be using value graph. If you don't know how to use value graph, please make sure you do. And I have a very good tutorial that can help you with that. I'm going to put it somewhere here so I can take a good look at that. So now, because I want this to be fast, I'm just going to drag this out really well like this, and I'm going to highlight this a little bit, maybe drag this as well, something like this. So if I play this, can you see? You have this bounce and overshoot, so fast, then drag, hold it a little bit, and then bounces back. So that's how I was able to achieve the text, and practically that's all I'm going to do to the rest of the text. And then I'm just going to try and fast forward all this part so you won't have to see me repeating myself. So that's basically all I did for all the text. Can you see? Really have really nice bouncy animation. Then one other thing that I did, if I go to straight to the video, was to, let me uncheck all of this, was to have this color thing going on here, right? Really interesting. So basically all I did was quite simple. All I needed to do was to duplicate the app text and then change the color, or better still, apply a text preset. I think first I change the color, so I'm going to use the fill color here and I'm going to change it to the color that I used. Now I have these two colors, so what I need to do now is to go to text presets, close this. Let me just change this to blue so you guys can see that this is the one with the blue. Then go to opacity, open this up, change the opacity to 0, animate the end right here. So I'll move forward in like, let's say some frames, 3 seconds before 1 second, and I'll change this to 0. So this is what I have. But then I would go to, this should be 0. So I'll open up the advanced and I'm going to random order. I'm going to click on and I'm going to alt click the random seed and I'm just going to type times 1000, so it will be really fast. So this is what it will give me. So this is how I was able to achieve this. So if I play this now, right, exactly what I did. So in about 1 second and maybe 2 frames, let's say 4 frames, I'm going to click on my app because the next text is this. Can you see? And here, what I really want to do is to match cut into the next text set of text. So this is it. So what I would do, let us create that text first. I want to check this. Now, if you see this particular one, this is what I split into different, all this text. So I'm just going to duplicate this, make sure I still have my copy on check. Then I'm just going to drag this up and drag it to the point where I want it to be. Let's say 12 frames, and I'm just going to do this. And then the text is build it in minutes or something like that. Build it in minutes. So let me just type that out. Build it in minutes. So let me uncheck this now. So this is what I have here. So I'm just going to cut all of this, at least for now, so that we can be able to see this clearly. So this is what I have. Make sure I don't cut the feathered BG, so because I really want that to be there. So the next thing I would like to do, you guys guessed it, I'm going to split all my layers once again because like I said, I prefer to have more control. So I'll go to my text explorer again, then do all of this. Then right now, this particular one is the full one. I don't really need it. So what I can do, including this one, I'm going to hide both of them and I'm just going to do this. Use the share button and then hide them, so I know that I always have that copy. But now it's now time for me to introduce this text into this. So how I transition from this to this is now the next thing. So one thing I like to do is to do a little bit of anticipation and overshoot to help with that. So in about 1 second, I'll count 1 2 3 4 5, which is 5 seconds above. So I'm just going to solo up this half and I'm just going to do a little bit of some overshoot as well to really make sure that we transition into the next scene. So I'm just going to click this and I'll move forward 6 frames, 1 2 3 4 5 6, and this 1 2 3 4 and this. So this is what I'm working with. The only reason why I'm doing this because I've been able to know how this works. Most of the time you have to do a little bit of try and error to see what feels good, but in order for us to save some time, that's why I'm just counting those frames. I know how many frames that I've used already, so yeah, that's the reason why I'm doing this right here. So but in actual cases, I have to do a little bit of try and error to see what feels good. So I just want to put that out there. So yeah, I have this and I'll come back here. Because I want this to be a little bit of anticipation and overshoot again. I know that I want this to go up because I want to introduce that build. So I'm just going to drag this down a little bit. Let's say about 15. And then at this point, I want it to go up. So let's say just go up a tiny bit, right? Let's say -6. And of course, I'll go to my graph editor, use my value graph. I'm already in my value graph. So let me just check this. So basically I'm just going to try and do the same ease, right? So I'm just going to take this, ease it out a little bit, then also ease this out as well, maybe a little bit. And this time around this will go up because I really want to have that fast movement. So if I play this, can you see? So it comes down and goes up and disappears, right? So this is where I'll now match cut into my build. So let me just try and apply this same technique to the rest of this animation, which is all this text, because it's actually the same technique which I'll match into, and then we'll move on. So practically I'm just going to fast forward on this side. Okay, so basically this is what I've done. I've taken all of this text, all the many text that I have here, and practically for the app, I didn't need to use this other one, the black one that is underneath. So I just cut that one off at the middle here, and I have this takeover, right? And as you can see, I did a little bit of overshoot, anticipation on overshoot, right? And that's because I was trying to lean into the next scene, and that's particularly what I'm going to do now. So I'm going to now arrange this in a way that it will now cut into those, like the rest of the text. So that's going to be the next phase. So let's just do that now. So I'm going to start with the av first, because the av will leading into build int, right? So let's see av build app. So let me even see the video just to be sure that this is well done, built in minutes. So I have like some dots. I believe more dots will come in. Yeah, basically, right. We'll get to that part. So let me just uncheck this. Okay, so I have my have built. So at the point where the have, so I'm going to target the tail end of this. So at the point where the have is going away, I'm going to introduce the build. So I'm just going to take all of this and then just take them back a little bit, and I'm going to do a match cut to that text. So I'm just going to do this at this point, and of course let me separate the dimensions because I'm going to be working with the y axis. So I'll go forward in fifth frame, the fifth frame, and I'm just going to, since half is going up, so I'm just going to make sure this goes up, let's say to about minus 37, and I go to the next fifth frame, and then I'm going to bring it further down just to make sure that I have that bouncy animation. So let me do about 8, then go forward in 4 frames, 1 2 3 4, yeah, and then take it back to the original position, which is 0. All right, and I'm just going to highlight this, do my easy ease, then go to my graph here, and here I want this to be fast because I'm doing match cut there, and then here I want this to be a little bit tighten up here, and maybe this one just a little bit of ease there. So let me play this now. You can see what's going on there. Let me play that again. And practically that's what I'm going to do to the rest of the text. So I am going to fast forward this, and then I'll try and explain to you what I did. So let me just see me work and then learn. Of course, I'm going to fast forward it. All right, so what I've done is I've done copy and paste on the init. So what I need to do is now offset as well. 1 2, ring the it here, then 1 2, ring this here, and if I play this is what I have. Can you see this match well with the av, right? So yeah, I'm going to work on the rest now. All right, so I did something really smart here, right? Instead of me wasting so much time trying to repeat the same animation on each of the layers, so all I did was just to copy and I pasted on the width, right? But then, of course, it will change the positioning. So let me hide this for a second. It will change the positioning, right, to exact same minute. So practically what I did was I activated this whole one, the reference one, that before I split the layers, so that I can know where the width is, and then I highlighted everything. Now I was now able to change the positioning accordingly, everything. So all the ease, everything is all there. I just need to change the position to where this width is. So that's practically what I did. So now the same animation but same thing. So let me do that to all too, so to the AI, so you guys can see what I did. So I'm going to press P, separate dimensions. I'm working with x-axis. I'm just going to come here and then paste the animation. Hopefully it's still there. Now can you see that it has changed to where the minute is? So practically what I really need to do, I'll activate my reference layer here, which is this particular one, and then go to the end, because I know that the animation will end here. Click on this text and then adjust everything, right, and align it perfectly to where the text is. And I think that's it pretty much. So so instead of me applying the ease over and over and over again, that just really helps. So right now this is what we have. So if I play this, can you see? So I've been able to offset them a little bit. So now I'm just going to offset it to see how it looks good, or how it definitely looks good, and see how the rest of this goes. So let's do that. One thing I do notice is I think the overshoot is a little bit too much for this width and AI. So I'm just going to reduce that quite a bit. So if I play this, right, I'm also going to reduce this overshoot as well for the AI. So right, it's supposed to be a little bit subtle, yeah, something like that. Once ready, this AI, it needs to be more subtle because of the many animation I'm going to do. Okay, let's work with this. All right, so now it's not time for me to now offset it in a way that it makes sense. So let me bring in the rest of the text right from this. So let's play this. All right, so we need to now stack this accordingly now. So let me uncheck this. I think this is what is confusing me. So let me play this. Yes, so we now see how this is working. So now where this minute is coming in, I need to adjust it. So minute, I need to adjust it to where we have this match cut here and have here. So I'm going to adjust this minute to be at this point. So let's see. That's practically how I get to achieve this. Yes, I can keep smoothing this to make sure that it makes a whole lot of sense, but you guys get the idea. So of course I can keep adjusting to make sure that this does not look this clumsy. So let me see the idea, for instance, have idea. So yeah, this one is a little bit, I'll set it a little bit so I can bring it down a little bit like this. Yeah, this works perfectly. All right, let's move on. So the next thing is what? Let's see. I'm going to solo all of this. So the next thing is the build has this color animation, while the AI also has the color animation, and then I also have this dot I also need to introduce as well. So let me see how we are going to achieve that. So let me uncheck this, and then let's go to the build. I like all of this, press U, and here is the build. Let me uncheck this. Here's the build. So let's do the color animation. So I'm going to add a fill color to this, and I'll make sure that we use this exact same color here, right, at least at first. I'll click on the checkbox animation here for the color. I'll press U. I'll move forward 2 frames, then change the color to this blue. I'll move forward 2 frames again, change the color to this. So I'm just going to copy and paste. Want to copy and paste, and of course the last one as well, want to copy and paste. So, and then I will now use the old keyframe. So you can hold down Control Alt and click to change it to old keyframe. So if I play this now, this is what I have. Let's play that again. Right, this is, yes, really looking cool. So what the next thing I really need to do right now is to now apply the same animation to the AI. So practically the same thing. I think I can just copy and paste this color on the AI as well. go to the AI and then move forward maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 frames, and then paste the animation. So if I press U, this is what I have. So let me play this. Yeah, that's practically how I get to achieve this. Now let's now do the dot dot to the next scene. So I'm just going to duplicate this. I'm going to drag this up, hide my reference, and then change this to dots, and then just drag this to the tail end. So let me use my video reference. So let me activate this. So I think my position is a little bit different from the video. Is it? So let me activate my build. It's not so different, so yeah, let's work with that. So I'm going to take my dot here. I'm just going to put it here, right? And of course I have more dots, so let me just go further down. So yeah, so I'm just going to do this. All right, and I'm just going to take this, and if I go back to this point, I'm just going to drag this to the beginning, right? Let's say something like that. So that works. So I'm just going to check this, check this, and then let's check the rest of it. And I have my dots. It's not looking well positioned right now, but it doesn't really matter. Let me just drag this, well, something like this. So I'm just going to arrange this the way there should be. After the AI, maybe a frame, I have this, then maybe after every 6 frames, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I bring this in, another one here, another one here, and then what will definitely lead to this. So if I play this now, so now we have to put all of this in I have to attach a null into all of this, right? That will be responsible for moving it. So I'm going to take all of this to the build, check this, and I'm going to put them in a null. And one thing I like to do to make my work, get this done faster, is really simple. I'll just go to my motion tools here. I'm still old school, I'm using the old tools here, but I actually prefer this, it's less clunky. So I'm just going to click on add null, and with that you can see that all of this, they are now in the null. So I'll go to the beginning of this, and I will have position. I'll click this. Okay, maybe we'll take this off, and then we'll go to where we have the AI, and then I'll start my positioning here, right? And I'll go maybe about 30, maybe about 1 second, right? And then I'll drag this to this point. And I might have to introduce more dots, or maybe split out the dots some more, basically. So if I can do this, just drag it out. Maybe drag it out to this point, this one maybe to this point, right? To really emphasize, where the next thing, how to just bring in the next thing, basically. But I like this. The my ease. And I know because it's match cut, so I'll go to my ease. This time around, I can use my speed graph and then do something like this. I like this. Slow at the end and very fast towards the end. So if I play this now, yeah, so you can see how that is done. Really, really interesting. Basically, that's how I was able to achieve this. I think my AI was, the last color there was blue, so I can just maybe delete this one so it can be in blue. So but one other thing you guys would like to know is the way there's some other movement in this. So if you look at this, can you see like this position animation, right? There's a little bit of scaling animation as this is animating, right? So this is one technique I would like to teach you guys. Really, really cool technique. So even without that additional movement, it looks really good, right? But always look for a way to reinforce your animation just to get people's attention. So you can say that something is really happening here, but we want a situation whereby we are taking the audience along with it. So we are going to add additional movement to this. So one thing I would do, I'll just add an additional null, or sometimes I use adjustment layer, use transform. Well, let me try and find out what I really used here. So in this case, I actually use adjustment layer. So I'm going to create an adjustment layer here. And this technique is actually very good because you don't have to worry about controlling so many nulls. Here, I'll just add transform, right? And I'll go to the scale. So I'll go to where I want this to start first. At this point, I'm going to just do scale animation. So at those key points where I think scale and position animation, well, let's just start with scale for now. So at those key points where we have those interesting animation, when this is resting, you want to make sure that we have corresponding animation to that. I'll make sure that the rest animation is here. So at this point, I want it to be, let's say about 120, a little bit bigger. And then I'm just going to do my ease, but then I'm not done. So I'll go forward in like 13 frames or 23 frames or thereabout. And I can copy and paste this, or maybe not to zoom in, and then I'll just reduce this a little bit, maybe about this. And then when we now have this rest, maybe I can now change this back to 100 as well. And then if I play this now, of course, let me do my ease first, and this time around I'll just do something like this, right? So we can have this snappy movements. So let's see, what do we have? Yeah, exactly. Can you guys see that? It makes it look more interesting and more engaging. And the beautiful thing about using this transform, it moves everything along with the background, so it makes it look very dynamic. But now that I've moved all of this to the side, can you see that the background didn't move along, right? So I can fix it using my transform property here. Just do this, press U, then now I can just drag this to the side. Maybe I should have just used the transform property for this. Maybe I'll just do a little bit more. And because my background is exposed, one thing I can do is I'll apply CC repeatile for my background, and I can just repeat it to the right. I can use unfold, right, so it will really blend. So yeah, so I'll highlight all of this, do easy ease, go to my graph editor, and this should be like this, like this, like this, because we're about to cut into the next frame. So if I play this now, this is what I have. Yeah, so we've finally done with scene 1, and then we are going to go straight to scene 2. All right, so let's go straight to scene 2. So I did match cut into the scene, right? And now I'm just going to be doing more of project breakdown. I'm pretty sure I would have explained that in my intro. So let me open this up, and all of these are actually, most of these things here, the background, I've actually explained how I get to achieve the grid background. The only thing is I just have some elements, some of the UI elements here. So just to break this down, so this is the background, the grid, and then of course the feather center thing that I have. And then I have this is the UI element for the app, and I created like a gradient shadow, and that is what I have here. So if I uncheck this, you can see that this is what I have here. And what I did was to apply 4 color gradients, and also animated the point of the colors. So if I press EE, you can see that some of the colors are actually moving faster than the other, right? So that's like the reason why this is actually moving, just make things interesting. So overlaying that with this is what you get. You can see that the colors are kind of like moving as well. Very subtle, but makes it really look really cool. Then all these other things are just the UI element on top of it. Yeah, I think the reason why it's so zoomed in, that's because I actually have a null. So this is actually a null, right? I actually got this from Jake. I think his name is Jake Pellet. It's one of his scripts called Void. It's very, very good to easily create null, right? So let me quickly show you how this works. So this is the script here. So this is it here. If I have, for instance, a couple of shapes here, it's a circle, and then let's say, right? So if I like the 2, I really want to use null for these 2 shapes, I can easily use my motion tools for this. So if I like the 2 and click on my motion to add null, one thing you notice that it's adding the null at the center of the 2 shapes. But if I don't want that, and I want the null to be at the center of the composition, so that is where I use my void. So if I like the 2 and I shift click on the void, so it will definitely put, parent them and then put the null at the center of the composition. So that's basically what I did here, right? When I arrange all this. So for instance, if you want to see all of this clearly, let me just move all of this to the side, and then at this point I can maybe change the scale back to 100, right? Change the positioning. So this is practically everything here, overlaid with the text, right? It's just a matter of me changing the null positioning. So that's practically what I did there. So let me just undo all of that so you guys can see Yeah, so, and basically what I did, because I did a typewriting effect on the text, and I just matched the positioning with the animation till it gets to this point. That's basically what I did. And of course, I also have this hand cursor to come in and then click on this. If you guys notice, my animation is actually curved on the composition, and that's because if you want to achieve something like that, just in case you don't know how to do that, so I press B, and then let me just do this, change this to linear, and also just revert it back. I just want to quickly show you how you can achieve the curved animation on screen. So basically this is what I did. I highlighted this, right? Of course, apply my animation position there. I highlighted these two keyframes and right click and click on the keyframe interpolation and make sure that I can change them to either Bezier, continuous Bezier, or all of those three options can work. So continuous Bezier will give you this, and then you can be able to change the direction. So that's practically what I did there. So let me just delete this. So yeah, that's practically what I did there. And I press U, and then at this point I just added a little bit of scale in animation to show that bounce. So let me just highlight all of this and uncheck this. So at this point I needed to do my transition to the next scene. So I have this shape that I've created here, and I just did the formatting of this shape to this one. I formatted to this, and this has this size animation in x-axis. So that is what is driving that animation. So let's now go straight to the transition, which was very interesting. So here at this point, when this happens, I needed to introduce this here, and you can see that this is actually what is driving all of this here. So if I click on my logo style, you can see that it's actually in 3D. So I use advanced 3D for this. So let me quickly show you how I get to achieve this in a nutshell. So let me go to my comp and let me delete all these ones, and I'm going to go to my Figma file and just import it straight to After Effects. So this is my Figma file and this is the shape. So I'm just going to right click. I'm going to use my overload plugin and I'm just going to scoop it over to After Effects. So I'm going to click this, and then immediately I have this. So it's not here on the scene. Let me just centralize it and to be on the scene. So this is how I was able to bring it into After Effects. I can increase the scale a little bit and then change it to 3D. Right, let me go to my layer and reset my camera because it's not supposed to do that yet. Yes, so I've made it 3D, and then the next thing is I have to go to my geometric option here and then increase the extrusion. So the extrusion, I'll make it 80, right? And then I'll also increase the bevel depth a little bit. So let's say about 6.5. That's to do with the edges, right? And you might not see this clearly, but when I go to my camera tool and then I just scooped over a little bit, you can see what I have here, right? Which is really interesting. So you can either do this, or let me reset my camera, or change the view here to custom view, and then you can see this. So I think this extrusion might be too much. I can just reduce it a little bit and click on my move tool. Then the next thing I would like to do, because I want this side to look different, is I can close down, open this up, then go to side and add color. Of course, it's going to give me all of this, so that means I need to put that into a group. So I'm going to open this up, click on this. Let me try and click on this and add color. I think that should work. Side color. Yeah, and that works. So now I can now use a totally different shade of blue for this. So I can just make this a little bit lighter or a little bit darker, right? So that's basically what I did. And then I can change this back to active camera view, because if you check, I have some like a little bit of stroke on this. So what I did was simple. So I would take this and duplicate it, and then the one on top, I will uncheck the 3D, and of course take away the fill and make sure I had a stroke to it. And you can see that it's giving me white stroke, even though it's very hard to see, but I can come here and change the color to maybe something like just really light blue color. So if I change this back to custom view, it's very hard to see, and I need to actually put it on to change back to 3D so that it can be in 3D space. And with this, you can see that it's actually on this, right? One other thing you can do, if I can scoop this to the side a little bit more, I can do 2 views just to be sure that this is where it's supposed to be. So this is the stroke. I can drag it out. Or it still has some depth. So what I really need to do is to take away the depth. So I'm going to change this to 0, reset the bevel as well. Now if I click on this, let me change this to stroke and drag this out. You can see that this is my stroke here. So let me change the color so that you guys can be able to see it really well. So this is my stroke, and I will just make sure that it's, it lands perfectly on this and it's showing. Change back to one view. As you can see, this is what I'm going with, but in actual video I just changed the color to a lighter blue so that you can give me those details. So I did it for both the front and the back, so I can change this back to 2 views and then drag this to the back as well. And then with that, I can really have something really interesting whenever I'm animating, basically. So this is how I was able to achieve the star look, basically, right? So if I come here and do this, you can actually see how this was done, basically. So that is it. So let's go back to the transition. So this is where we have the transition. So basically if I do U here, it's animated the position, right? The position, and of course the rotation as well. So position is like coming closer to the camera in Z axis, and as I'm doing this, I'm fading out the background. So this should be the background. If I press U, or let me see, I think it's already fading off from here. I'm already doing it here. So I already did the fading from here so that the transition will be smooth. So did the fading from here and have this rotated and then slam to the second scene, which we are now introducing the logo, right? Which is really, really interesting. So if I go to scene 3 now, so this is what I have, right? You can see that the logo starts from here. So basically what I did from here was I allowed the 3D star to match cut into the actual one, basically. So that's how I was able to really achieve that. And guys, if you guys want to know more about this, I'm sorry that I'm not doing full tutorial, but if you want to know more about this, just try and get the project files. So how did I get to achieve the logo here? So let us break this down. So this is my grid. These are like the text I was experimenting with. So this is bust. We'll come to the bust, but let's go straight to the logo. Here is just simple position animation, and then of course I've showed you guys how I get to achieve my color animation as well. How I can change the color, right? And of course did a little bit of some overshoot, which I've showed you in the first scene. So that's basically how I did this. All the logos were in PNG, so I actually had to split them up using mask, so I can able to have really good control over this. So, and of course offsetting them as well. So yeah, and one other thing that I would like to say, right? So the reason why this is looking really good is because try and emulate how things can work in real life, right? So think of when you are dangling a rope, how does it really move? Think of when something, so don't just, one thing I like to do is don't just animate. If you move a thing in the scene, look for something that can trigger that movement, and then also look for something that can come as an after effect, no pun intended, after the movement. So look for triggers and reactions, right? So this scene looks so good because you can see that there's a form of harmony in it. So this comes in ease, and then as this one is landing, as this particular one is landing, it's also introducing this, almost as if this is actually dragging the A up as well, and then this is going. So it's like that's why you need to also play a lot with your ease. Very important. So if you check all of my ease on the positioning, they are really quite intentional. Where is it? Yeah, so this is let me go to my speed graph. Yes, so they're really quite intentional, right? So just you guys just trying to understand the psychology behind my animation or even animation, the reason why it looks good. But like I said, if you want to know more how I get to achieve all of this, just try and get a project file. It will really help you. So let's move on. So that's the logo. And one thing I wanted to achieve here was to, when this slams down, when this logo slams down, I want to have a little bit of some subtle burst, and that's why I introduced this particular thing here. So I tried to do it with fractal noise, but I couldn't. So basically I just did it manually. I tried to do it frame by frame. So all of these are just simple box shape that I've made, and I was trying to look for how something can actually burst organically, and I just placed them. It took me a while because I actually do this frame by frame. So yeah, and it's very subtle. It's not something you really quickly notice. So if I play this, so let me play it again. Can you see? It's very subtle, right? So that's it. And of course, I animated this and I use null to control all of those, right? Including all this positioning. So I think the next thing I'd like to show you is how I get to achieve this nice, reveal transition. And this is actually quite easy and simple to do. So let me just solo this. And I think this is where you need to have more space for these effects. Now I'm going to just solo this. Let me use the big one so you guys can see it better. Let me focus on this. Now I'm just going to do this. So this, I actually stack a whole lot of effects on it. So don't worry about this elastic controller. This is just the elastic tools here from Motion Tools, right? So it's not really an effect. It's just what gives me the overshoot animation for this. So I didn't do the overshoot or the scale animation manually for this one, so I used that. So don't worry about this first one. But now we are now going to start with all of this. So let me uncheck all of this, and then let me uncheck the circle. I want to start with the fractal noise. So I'll open up the fractal noise. This is what I have. So let me just zoom in a little bit. So this is basically what I have. I can still see some details there. Let me see. Yes, let's focus on this right now. So I added fractal noise. I tweaked the settings a little bit. This is like basically all the settings that I have to arrive at this point. Then after that, I added mosaic, right? So this mosaic, and of course I changed the values, the horizontal and vertical blocks here to achieve this. And at this point, this is what I have. And of course I wanted it to have a little bit of color as well. So I added colorama. And with colorama, you can actually quickly add some really good colors. So let me go to the output. So I changed the color to fit with the brand color. And of course, I also animated the phase shift. So the phase shift is just, that's what changes the color almost all the time. So by click, check, do this, right? So this is what is changing the color all the time. And I actually did a simple expression on this, which is time 100, which is on this phase shift. So this is responsible for just changing the color all the time. That if you see any changes there, is the phase shift that is doing that. Then after that, I added hue and saturation because I needed it to really look like the brand, right? I don't want to go outside the brand color. Then after that, I added deep glow, and that's why it looks so different now. And of course, I didn't want it to just happen like this, so I added another effect called circle effect, and with this is just what it means basically, right? So if I open this up, it's just a normal circle effect, and when you add it, you can easily animate the circle from it being big to it being filling the entire thing. So the way I did it was just to use that as like a transition into this. So that's basically how I get to achieve this. If you guys want a dedicated tutorial on this, let me know. But I've actually done something similar, which I actually showed you guys how I get to achieve this, and I'll be putting the tutorial link somewhere here, so make sure you do check it out. But if you still want me to do a full tutorial on this, I'll be happy to do it. Just drop a comment in the session and I'll definitely do it full tutorial, right? So that's how I was able to achieve all of this. Yeah, and of course I was able to apply this to all the frames, all the UI elements, right? Just to reveal all of this, and then I move it a little bit to the side to cut into the next scene. So let's go straight to scene 4 now. So, and let me change this to half, as well. So yeah, so you can see I just match cut into this, and here is a very simple thing that I did here. So basically from the background, you guys know I get to achieve the background, but let's start soloing them out so you guys can see what I did. So the very first thing is I have the dashboard, and from this you can see that I added an effect called thick stroke. Thick stroke enables you to add gradient stroke, and that's why I use it. You can see use normal stroke and then try and tweak it, but so that's the first thing, not really the first thing, but at least how I get to overlay this. While now I still have another one, but this time around it's filling the entire thing here. Then I now have the main dashboard itself. So you can, as you can see, this is basically I have the movement is being driven by a null. The scaling and scale out is being moving by a null. Then all the elements, basically all the elements, and this is just simple position animation, right? Where they're coming from this, and I just introduce the positioning of the app to come to the side as well, right? Move this to the side while this is coming in. One other cool thing, you will notice, like, this is giving me a little bit of 3D depth, right? That's because all these elements, they actually have drop shadow, even though I tried to use 3D at first, but it's just plain it. Okay, I think I remember why I used 3D, because I needed to really fake that depth. But the shadows are not real shadows, they're actually drop shadows, so to form that 2.5D ish. And then this position animation as well was just simple position animation from left to right. Then when it gets to this point where it's going to snap to the app, I animated the opacity to disappear, and also make sure that when it gets to the point here, I animated the z-axis to snap into the app, right? So it's not scale, I didn't use scale. These are just the snapping into the app was not a scale animation, it was actually a z dimension animation, so to speak. So that's like the whole idea. And of course, all of that changing is as a result of, let me see, where is that one? Who is responsible for this? So it's as a result of this particular one here. So let me uncheck this, right? So I duplicated this particular stroke, this thick stroke, and this other one, I changed the blend mode to hard. So it's actually the same settings. But now this time around, I animated the offset. So on thick stroke, there's actually offset, and with that, you can easily just animate the lines. So that's basically what I did there. And if I press U on this, right, you can see all of this is just changing quite a lot till it gets to the point where I want that to be done. Yeah, and I think that's all for this scene, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that was all for this scene. And of course, the app changing is just simple offset, right? You can see nothing much. There's no real animation thing going on here. So that's how I basically achieve all of this. So let's go straight to the next scene. And then I have this. Yeah, this is actually quite simple position animation for the text. So I'm just do this. And yeah, so here is just simple. Let me uncheck this. Simple position animation with color animation, right? And you can see my offset, the way I make the text bounce, right? I've showed you guys in the first scene, right? I think the only thing new here is all this thing here. So basically it's a 3D shape, right? So let me uncheck this. It's a 3D shape which I applied extrusion, and of course I also changed the color of the sides. So I added the size color, which I've already shown you in the previous video. So if I do custom view, so I change the side to be this blue, and of course just place this above it, right, so that you can have the icon. So that's basically how I get to achieve this, and this is just a PNG image. So that's basically how I get to achieve it, and I just animated them, from the center to the side. If I press U, you can see the rotation animation, the position animation, the scale animation for each of those 3D icons. And I know that at one point I wanted them to come back so that I can transition into the next scene. So animated them out, then into the next scene, just bring them back in. So these are like the keyframes, right? You can see that. So, and then that, leads me to the next scene. So here, this actually took me a while because I needed to finalize the animation to make it really look good. So I'm going to start with the star animation here, which is this logo star. So I actually put this logo star in its own null. So if I press U, you can see that I have a whole lot of keyframes. So I needed it to really move the way I wanted to move. And what really did this for me is controlling the ease in a way that it will move naturally. You can see my curves and practically all the keyframe as well. Actually took me a while for me to like finesse in a way that it will really look good and feels natural, right? So that's basically how I get to achieve all of this. Try and get the project file. You see, you can go deeper into this. So of course the text are just simple position animation, which I've already showed you. And here is just, attaching all the text into a null and then moving to the side, as this is moving to the side as well. Yeah, I did a little bit of anticipation overshoot because I'm about to cut into the next scene. So, and then I cut down. Then if you also notice, right, based on what I showed you in the first scene, you can see some subtle movements. When I'm zooming in a little bit, can you see the subtle movement zooming in a little bit? That's because I'm trying to reinforce this movement. So those are like the little things you can reinforce. And I use this using my transform tool on an adjustment layer. So, and then I cut straight into the next scene, and this is the next scene. So this is the logo star here, and then we have the dashboard. So this is the dashboard. And basically what I did here was to just add a drop shadow with this color. That's why we have that highlight on it. And of course the rest are just simple text animation and then null animation, because I needed to move them, move them up, down, like just to highlight those critical parts of the UI. And then the rest of it are just really null animation, honestly. Yeah, so, and of course I made sure that I activated motion blur so that it can give me that blur, because something is really moving fast. So I needed to make sure that that was activated, and that's why it's getting so slow. So if you guys notice here, I have this transition on the app, right? This transition on the app. So let's check that out. So basically, if I solo this, let me see the one that's responsible. Okay, this is the one that is responsible. So basically, the same thing that I showed you guys on the mosaic, right? It's just that this time around, after the fractal noise, I added mosaic. After the mosaic curves, colorama, which is practically the same thing. The only difference is I now added linear wipe. So this linear wipe is now wiping it from top down. So, and of course, I also added linear wipe for the ones on top. I just offset it a little bit. So if I press U here, you can see that this one above has linear wipe, and the one below, which is the one with the effects, has linear wipe. But if you notice at this point here, right, you can see that there are a few frames away at the end, right? So that's why we have that really nice offset, right? To just show that reveal. That's how I was able to achieve that. Yeah, what else? Null position animation, moving to the right, move to the, I created this shape, right? So this is basically the shape, and this time around I changed the blend mode to silhouette alpha. So this is the normal shape basically, but knowing that I'm going to do that transition and I don't want to really mess up with anything here, so I just changed this shape into silhouette alpha. So what that means is it's going to, anything that is on top of it is going to just plug a hole through it. And this is just set this is just like a setup for my next transition. And here is where I now do my zoom, right? So I use my adjustment layer here, I add transform, and then do this to just zoom into that particular thing. I think this was just additional zoom. Hold on, I think I should see how, yeah, this is actually the main transition here. So this is the scale. So this zoom was just like an additional zoom because of the background. So this is how I get to achieve this particular thing here. So let's move straight to the next scene. So as you can see this is the scene that has the transition, and the next scene is actually beneath it. Yeah, this is the scene that's beneath it. So because I've plugged a hole into this composition scene 6, right, I placed my scene 7 underneath it, and it's revealing the next scene basically. So if I go into the next scene, you can see how my transition works. So this is just simple position animation. Let's go deeper into this scene so you guys understand how I get to achieve my background already. And then this app, so this is the app finale. So this is the composition that is responsible for this. So let's go straight into this composition. Let me just do this and then fit. So this is the composition that is responsible for this. So basically what I did here, so let's solo this out. So let me uncheck all this text. We don't really need all the text right now. So let's look at this app so I get to achieve this. So you can see that they're actually in 3D. So but let me open this up. So let me solo this. So the first thing I did was to create a composition with this size. You can see that it's actually way long, and then in this particular one, if I open this up, I actually stack them. So this is another composition basically inside this. This is the size. So I stack all the phone apps on top of each other basically, right? Pre-comp everything, and I started arranging them on the sides. So one thing to make it look a little bit different, even though they're not so different, is I think I changed their positioning a little bit. Some I changed the position, I didn't. Yeah, and I think no, not the positioning. So I actually applied offset. So offsets changes the positioning for you. So just in case you don't know about this effect, so this is really good effect for changing position of a particular comp or layer. So with this offset, I can change this. And the good thing is, with this, you don't need to worry about if it's going to cut off. It will just keep offsetting it and it will do the repeater for you basically. So that's how I was able to change some of the positioning. And of course, I also added offset positioning. So it's the offset that is responsible for moving it up and down in a way. Some were faster, some were slower. So that's how I was able to achieve this. But then that fade out, right? That is what I would like to show you now. So the fade out, this is what I did. So I created a null. So no, not a null, a solid. As you can see, this is actually stencil luma. But if I change this to normal, can you see that it's actually a gradient? So that's this black and white gradient. And basically what I did, because I wanted all of this to fade, I just changed to stencil luma. And with that, where we have the white values, it will be showing. When we have the dark values, it will not show. So the in-between is when we now have a little bit of gray, right? So that's how I was able to achieve the fade, stencil luma. So that's how I was able to achieve the fade, right? And of course, I added a little bit of blur as well, because at the end of it, I wanted it to look like it is out of focus. So I added blur, right? And I added mask so that it will only blur out the tail end, right? And that's basically what I did, and put that in the comp, arrange them accordingly, put one up, put one down, arrange them in Z space, and of course introduce them into the scene. Can you see this is just simple position? I think I use the camera because all of it were in 3D, so just move the camera back and then that brought all of this into the scene. Basically that's how I was able to do this. And of course I changed my text into 3D, into shapes, and make them 3D. So this is just simple position animation, like scaling, not scaling, in Z-axis basically. That's how I was able to really achieve this. Really quite simple. Then the next thing was, so I needed to make sure that the transition, right? Because transition, yeah, you can see that I have my logo start coming in from the side. Right, so basically this actually took me a while for me to really achieve, right, perfectly, right, because I was using the handles on the screen, right, like I've showed you. If you make sure you press U, if I right click on my keyframe, go to my keyframe interpolation, I use continuous bezier. That's why I can able to move my handles on the screen. Yeah, that was how I was able to achieve that. And of course I think let me do two views as well, because I needed to also change. Can you see? So I was also changing the handles in Z-axis as well, so you can see where this is coming from, right? So this is not like perfectly done 3D, but I know how it will look like if it is coming from far distance. So here I animated the scale, animated the position, animated the rotation, and that's how I was able to really achieve this. So this is the null responsible for that. And I think the logo star also has his own animation, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, maybe not really. Maybe not really. So I didn't even apply scale animation, but at least I applied position and the Y axis animation to this. So, and towards the end where this is going to, slam in and then reveal to the next scene, I just added a little bit of blur, right? So this can now be in focus, right? So this is like, when you now have, I'm faking depth of field basically, right? So when this now slams towards the screen, right, I now make sure that the next scene catches up. So, and this is the star here. So this is the 2 star. So if I do this, so when it gets to this point, and I did, so this is the 3D star, this is the 2D star. So, and that just takes over. So I just cut it into the part that I want it to be, and that's now transition into my logo that I've already done before. And I think that's pretty much. I really hope you guys really enjoyed that. I really hope you guys found that really engaging, because it took me a while. I believe I went a little bit deeper in this one. So I really hope you guys learned a lot. If you do, kindly let me know. And then please stay tuned for the live stream. 31st of January, I'll be doing live stream. I'm going to communicate the time. I'm going to find a really, really favorable time for my audience. So just be on the lookout for that. For my YouTube posts, I'll do a YouTube post. I'm going to put it on my Instagram. I'm also going to put it on my LinkedIn as well. So be on the lookout for that. Yes, I think that's it pretty much. Like this video if you do enjoy it. Subscribe if you are new. And the project files in the link in the description if you really want to get it. And I will see you guys later. Thank you.